Daf Yomi tractate Zevachim, page 110b. The last four words of the previous Amud was this new Mishnah, so I'll start from there. Azorek Mikzas Dam Bachutz. The Mishnah says if one who sprinkles part of the blood on an offering, for example, one sprinkling instead of four, outside the temple courtyard, and now we're turning to 110b, top of the page, Chayav, he is liable. Rabbi Elazar Omer, Af Hamanasech Mehachag Bachag Bachutz. Chayav. Rabbi Nechemi Omer, Shirei Hadam, Shikriva Bachutz Chayav. Rabbi Elazar says, so too one who pours as a libation water consecrated for the libation of the festival in Sukkot during the festival outside the courtyard is liable. Rabbi Nechemiah says, what for the remainder of the blood of an offering that was supposed to be poured at the base of the altar, and that instead one sacrificed outside the courtyard is liable. That's the Mishnah. Now the Talmud. Amar Rava, Rabbi Elazar b'dami. Rava said, Rabbi Elazar generally holds. Rava said that Rabbi Elazar generally holds that one is liable for sacrificing outside only when he sacrifices a complete offering. But Rabbi Elazar concedes with regard to the sprinkling of the blood of an offering that one is liable for sprinkling outside, even part of the blood. For example, one sprinkling instead of four. This is clearly the halacha with regard to offerings whose blood is sprinkled on the external altar, as a single sprinkling renders such an offering valid, see 36b, and it can be regarded as a complete offering. Rabbi Elazar concedes that this is the halacha even with regard to offerings whose blood is sprinkled on the inner altar, despite the fact that such offerings are valid only once all the sprinklings have been completed. The Tanya, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon Mimakom Shepasak Hu Maschil. The fact that Rabbi Elazar concedes this point is apparent from that which is taught in the Mishnah in Yom 68 with regard to the numerous sprinklings of blood performed in the Holy of Holies upon the curtain and on the inner altar as part of the Yom Kippur temple service. If during the sprinklings the blood spills and is necessary to bring the blood of the second animal in order to complete them, Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon say from the place that the high priest stopped sprinkling the blood of the first animal, there he begins to sprinkle the blood of the second animal. It is unnecessary to repeat any of the sprinklings that have already been performed. From this ruling, it is apparent that each sprinkling is considered an independent and complete act of service, and one will be liable for even a single act of sprinkling done outside the temple. Rabbi Elazar Omer, Af Amenasech Me'achag Chag Bachutz, Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Menachem Yod Fa'ah. It's an interesting name. Does he ever show up in Talmud? I don't know. Rabbi Menachem Yod Fa'ah. Rabbi Elazar Mishitas, Rabbi Akiva Rabo Amra. De'amar Nisuch Maim Deraisa. Tanya, Rabbi Akiva Omer Unisacheha Bishnei Nisuchim HaKatuv B'Nebel Echad Nisuch HaMayim Ve'echad Nisuch HaYayin. The Mishnah teaches, Rabbi Elazar says, so too, one who pours as libation water consecrated for the libation of the festival of Sukkot during the festival outside the courtyard is liable. Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi Menachem Yod Fa'ah. Rabbi Elazar said that halacha in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, his teacher, who says the water libation on Sukkot is a mitzvah by Torah law, as it is taught in a Braita that Rabbi Akiva says concerning the verse, beside the daily burnt offering, its meal offering, and its libations. Numbers 29:31. The fact that the Torah makes reference to libations in the plural indicates that the verse is speaking of two types of libations. One is the water libation, one which is unique to the festival of Sukkot, and the other one is the wine libation, which always accompanies a daily offering. If the water libation was not a mitzvah by Torah law, one would not be liable for pouring it as libation outside the temple courtyard. Amar le'Reish Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan, mali halam shloshes lugim, avkan shloshes lugim, ha Rabbi Elazar mi bachad kamar, mali halam misharimos shana, avkan misharimos shana. Rabbi Elazar achad kamar. Rabbi Reish Lakish said Rabbi Yochanan, if Rabbi Elazar derives the mitzvah of the water libation through the derivation taught by Rabbi Akiva, according to which both the wine libation and water libation are derived from the same word, then he should hold that just as there with regard to wine, one is liable only if he pours 3 log, so to here with regard to water, one should be liable only if he pours 3 log. But in the Mishnah, Rabbi Elazar says water of the festival of Sukkot, which seems to include any amount. Furthermore, he should hold that just as with regard to pouring a libation of wine outside the temple, one is liable for pouring a libation during the rest of the days of the year and not only on Sukkot. So too, with regard to pouring a libation of water, one should be liable for pouring a libation during the rest of the days of the year. But in the Mishnah, Rabbi Elazar says that one is liable only if he pours a water libation during the festival. It's apparently Rabbi Elazar derived the mitzvah of the water libation from a different source. Ishtamitete, ha, de Rabbi Yossi, de Rabbi Ravasi, de Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum, Rabbi Nechunya, ish bikat beit chortan. That's an interesting one, also. Unique ones. Rabbi Nechunya, ish bikat beit chortan. Eser netios arava. That which Rabbi Yossi says escaped him, as Rabbi Yossi says that Rabbi Yochanan says, in the name of Rabbi Nechunya, a man of the valley of Beit Hortan, the halacha of 10 saplings, the practice of taking a willow in the temple during Sukkot, and the obligation to perform the water libation during Sukkot. Each of these is a halacha transmitted to Moses from Sinai. According to Rabbi Asi, the mitzvah of the water libation is not derived from the same source as the wine libation, as it is possible that there will be differences in the halacha that apply to them. Rabbi Elazar and Shimon, the stages taught of right, so one who pours as a libation 3 log of water during the festival of Sukkot outside the courtyard is liable. Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, says if he filled a service vessel with the 3 log in order to consecrate them for the sake of the festival, he is liable. My benayu, Amar Nachman Bar Yitzchak, B'yesh shiur b'mayim kamiflagi. The Gemara asks, what is the difference between these two opinions? Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says they disagree with regard to whether there is a precise measure of water that can be consecrated as a libation. The first one holds that even if one fills a service vessel with more than 3 log, the water is thereby consecrated. Therefore, if one then pours at least 3 log of that water outside the courtyard, he is liable. But Elazar holds that if one attempts to consecrate more than 3 log, the consecration of the water is ineffective. Therefore, if one pours 3 log of that water as a libation outside the courtyard, he is not liable. Rav Papa Amar, Rav Papa said,